Welcome to Mark Henry Golf. So today we are attacking lack of hip mobility and then trying to still get it towards the target and gain some distance. So tough combo really. So the most common restriction I see in the body swing connection is that ability to internally and externally rotate the hips. So while you're working on that and trying to improve that with your stretching, we need to still get round the golf course, hit it towards the target and try and gain some distance. So right, let's go through the different stages where you can implement certain moves where you can still achieve a good solid strike distance without necessarily firing those hips too much. Right, let's get stuck in, shall we? Right, so to break it down, the first bit is to understand that the top half of the body is a closer, so that will close the club face. So the top half is a closer, so as you're rotating round, that will close the club face unless the top half is then trying to steer it or push it to the target, hence the chicken wing or separating your arm from the body. So that's a big no. So we want to just allow the top half to rotate round, and that's going to close the club face. Now this is the tricky bit. So the bottom half is an opener, so if you're driving into the floor, opening up your pelvis before the top half comes through, that's your opener and that's your match. So this is a little bit tricky because let's say the bottom half's not working. So as long as we're allowing the top half to flow through, at the minute the ball's going to go to the left. So as long as we're allowing the arms to go round the corner, allowing the club face to close as you go through, and you're not trying to hold it off and steer it to the target, stage one would be to get that ball bending to the left. So everything will flow through nicely, be nice quality, a nice contact, nice solid strike. So that's the first thing you need to implement. The bit that could stop that is if our right hand is too far under. So if our right hand is too far under the grip, then that will generally push the club face through to the target and keep it open. So we want to make sure the V is definitely inside the shoulder line. So the V that you've got in the right hand is inside that shoulder line. You can still have two knuckles on display on the left, that's fine, but we don't want that right hand too tucked under. That will keep the club face open and you won't get that closure. So right, so that's stage one. Let's get to stage two. So stage one, we've understood that the top half is closing it, but we're hitting it to the left of the target now. So that's, it's not at our target, but we've got the top half flowing through. We're not having an argument with ourselves. We've got our bottom hand, our right hand a little bit more on top, so that will enable us to close the club face on the way through, but we're still going left of the target. Yes, ideally we'd be able to then really open up the hips and get that match and get it back to the target. But let's say our hips are really restricted and it's a difficult move to get that timing on it. We've got to try and perform with what we've got body-wise, rather than trying to achieve something that's just going to be very frustrating and bang our head against a brick wall. So now this comes to the setup. The setup's crucial on this. So we don't want too wide a stance, so we're hitting the line just over hip width and we're looking at the heels there. So just over hip width, that will enable us to get some kind of rotation with the lower half. And then the angle of the feet, so they're just angled outwards slightly. Don't get too carried away with that. So that will just open up the hip flexors slightly and get a little bit of mobility in there. Make sure we haven't arched our lower back. That will make the hip flexors even tighter. So we just flatten the lower part of the back. That will open up that socket joint, and what mobility we've got, it will free it up and allow it to move a little bit. So if we've arched, tuck that pelvis under and flatten it, and it will just free that up a little bit more. Let's say that's not going to clinch it. That might not clinch the deal. So the main bit to do, quite straightforward. So rather than the feet being parallel to the target, you just need to aim to the right slightly. So rather than being parallel, like I said, they're aiming at 1 o'clock. So the position of the feet is a huge bit to help change the swing path and compensate for the lack of the hip mobility, the lack of turn that we've got. We just have our feet aiming slightly to the right, like I said, 1 o'clock. So you can experiment with that with how much they aim to the right. So then it's the intention of where you're hitting the shot to. So we've got the top half closing the club face, we've got the position of the bottom half sending it in a different direction. So now I yellow line, a trace line in the screen there, as you can see, that's the first one that went to the left of the target. Now in my head, I'm going to send the yellow line to the right with the white line in the screen there and bring it and allow it to come round to the target because my top half is closing the club face. So I'll close the feet up, so that means they're aiming to the right. I've still got the club face pointing at the target. I've got my grip in place so it's not too far under. I'm allowing the club face to close, so I'm not doing any kind of chicken wing or holding it off. Swing along the feet line. Got that intention of the yellow line going to the right and coming round. So then that should then go to the target. So if you haven't turned through, bit restricted, you'll get that shape of shot. So if you're lacking in mobility, that's the stages that you want to go through with the lower half. Allow the club face to close with the top half, make that adjustment in the setup, and then you're up and running. Good quality strike, good distance, and playing better golf. Any questions or comments, please send them through. Give us a good thumbs up, and I'll see you soon.